Right now, over 250,000 Americans are living in the Philippines, and 7 cities are completely overrun. But why are they flooding into these exact places? What's happening in these cities that the US government doesn't want you to know about? If you've ever looked at your retirement account and felt a cold sweat, if you've checked rent prices and wanted to scream, you're not alone. The average American needs $1.8 million to retire comfortably, but 64% have less than $10,000 saved. But what if I told you there's a place where $2,000 a month makes you upper middle class? Where healthcare costs 90% less, and your social security check actually feels like wealth? Before we reveal city number 7, the most shocking one, let me show you what happened to Robert from Texas. City number 7, Baguio. City number 7 will surprise you because it's not a beach town. It's a mountain escape that feels like California but costs 70% less. Meet Robert Chin. He's 63, a retired software engineer from Austin. For years, he paid $2,400 a month for a cramped studio apartment. Air conditioning running 24/7 because Texas summers are brutal. Every month, he'd watch his retirement fund shrink, calculating how many years he had left before he'd have to move in with his daughter. Then in 2023, Robert discovered Baguio. Now he pays $600 a month for a 3-bedroom house with a garden. He grows his own vegetables. Tomatoes, lettuce, herbs. And here's the kicker, he hasn't used air conditioning once. Baguio sits at 5,000 feet elevation. Cool mountain air year-round. Pine trees everywhere. Morning fog that rolls through the valleys. It feels like a perpetual autumn day in Northern California. The cost of living index in Baguio is 38 compared to 100 in the US. That means everything, groceries, utilities, healthcare, entertainment, costs 62% less. A full meal at a nice restaurant? $3. A month of electricity? $20. A haircut? $2. Over 8,000 Americans now call Baguio home. Robert wakes up every morning, makes coffee from locally grown beans that cost $4 a pound, and sits on his porch watching the sunrise over the Cordillera Mountains. He told me something that stuck with me: I can finally afford to live, not just survive. I'm not counting pennies at the grocery store anymore. I'm not panicking about my next doctor visit. I'm actually living. But here's what travel blogs won't tell you. The rainy season from June to October brings landslides. Roads get washed out. Entire hillsides can collapse. And if you have a medical emergency, the nearest major hospital is 2 hours away through winding mountain roads. Robert learned this the hard way. Last year he had chest pains. Thought it might be a heart attack. The local clinic stabilized him, but they had to transport him to Manila for proper cardiac testing. 4 hours in an ambulance. Turned out it was just severe acid reflux, but it scared him. Now he keeps a detailed medical plan, knows exactly which hospitals to go to, and has emergency contacts programmed into his phone. If you need quick access to world-class medical care, cities 3 and 1 have internationally accredited hospitals for 1/10 of US prices. We'll get to those. But Baguio's not even in the top 3 for American migration. Wait until you see city number 4. City number 6, Clark/Angeles City. City number 6 was literally built by Americans, and it shows. Clark Air Base was the largest U.S. military installation outside America until 1991. When Mount Pinatubo erupted and covered the base in volcanic ash, the Americans left. But they left behind roads, infrastructure, and an entire economic zone designed to American standards. Now it's a tax-free haven with wide streets, English road signs, and American fast food chains on every corner. Maria and Tom Williams, ages 58 and 61, moved here from Nevada in 2022. Both are type 2 diabetic. Both have high blood pressure. Both were drowning in medical costs. In the US, they paid $1,200 a month just for health insurance. That didn't include copays, deductibles, or medications. Tom's insulin alone cost $340 a month. Maria's blood pressure medication was another $180. Their annual medical costs? Over $22,000. They were spending more on healthcare than on their mortgage. In Clark, They pay $85 a month for private health insurance through PhilHealth and a supplemental plan. It covers everything: doctor visits, specialists, lab work, prescription medications, even dental cleanings. Tom's insulin here? $28 a month. Maria's blood pressure medication? $12. According to a 2024 International Living Survey, Clark has the third best healthcare value in Asia. The hospitals, like Angeles University Foundation Medical Center, have US-trained doctors, modern MRI and CT scan equipment, and English-speaking staff. Tom had a health scare 3 months after moving. His blood sugar spiked dangerously high. They rushed him to the hospital, fearing diabetic ketoacidosis. He was admitted immediately. No waiting room. No insurance verification delays. Within 20 minutes, he was in a private room within 4, receiving treatment. The doctor came in, spoke perfect English, explained everything clearly. He stayed 2 nights. Private room with a TV, air conditioning, and meals included. Maria could stay with him. The nursing staff checked on him every hour. Total bill? $340. In Nevada, that same visit would have cost at least $15,000, and their insurance would have fought them on half of it. But it's not just about money. Tom told me something that made me stop recording. He looked at me with tears in his eyes and said, "I forgot what it felt like to not panic when opening medical bills. I forgot what it's like to go to a doctor and not calculate in my head whether I can afford the treatment they're recommending. That's the invisible weight Americans carry. The constant background fear that one accident, one diagnosis, one emergency will destroy everything you've spent your life building." Clark has over 15,000 Americans living there now. There are American-style subdivisions, golf courses, casinos, and shopping centers. You can buy familiar brands. You can eat at Chili's or TGI Fridays. You can shop at grocery stores that feel like Whole Foods. But here's the catch, and this is important. The nightlife scene in Angeles City, which is right next to Clark, has a reputation. The area became known for sex tourism after the military base closed. Bars, clubs, and establishments that cater to older foreign men looking for young Filipino women. Not everyone in Clark is there for that, but it's part of the reality. Some expats avoid Angeles City entirely because of it. Others don't care. If you want the infrastructure and medical care without the uncomfortable cultural baggage, city number 3 will blow your mind. City number 5, Dumaguete. City number 5 is called the City of Gentle People, and it's easy to see why. Imagine a small college town by the sea. Silliman University sits in the center, bringing energy, youth, and intellectualism. Coffee shops with fiber optic internet on every block. Bookstores. Art galleries. Street musicians playing acoustic guitar on the boulevard. The pace is slow. People smile. Drivers actually stop for pedestrians. Linda Morrison, 67, is a former librarian from Oregon. She worked for 40 years, saved diligently, and retired with $1,400 a month from Social Security. In the US, that's below the poverty line. She couldn't afford rent in any decent neighborhood. Her options were moving in with her son or living in a mobile home park. She chose option 3, Dumaguete. Now she rents a 1-bedroom apartment 2 blocks from the ocean for $350 a month. It has a balcony where she drinks her morning coffee and watches the sunrise over the Bohol Sea. She wakes up to the sound of waves crashing against the seawall. She buys fresh mango from the public market for 30 cents. Papaya for 40 cents. A whole fish, gutted and cleaned, for $2. She walks to Cafe Mania, her favorite coffee shop, where the owner, a young Filipino named Miguel, greets her by name and knows she takes her coffee black with 1 sugar. She spends her mornings reading, her afternoons volunteering at the local library, teaching English to Filipino kids who dream of working abroad someday. Her evenings having dinner with friends, other expats who've built a community here. Over 5,000 Americans have made Dumaguete their home. There are weekly potlucks at the Expat Club, book clubs, hiking groups that explore waterfalls in the nearby mountains, volunteer organizations that build schools and provide scholarships. A 2023 study published in the Journal of Cross-Cultural Gerontology found that expat retirees living in community-rich environments showed 43% lower depression rates compared to isolated retirees in the US. Community isn't a luxury. It's medicine. It's what keeps people alive. Linda told me, in Oregon, I was invisible. I'd go days without talking to anyone. Here, I can't walk down the street without someone saying hello. I have purpose again. I matter. But there's a dark side to this story, and it's getting worse. Locals are starting to push back. Rent in Dumaguete has doubled in the last 5 years. Young Filipino professionals, teachers, nurses, engineers, can't afford to live in their own city anymore. A teacher in the Philippines makes about $400 a month. When American expats rent apartments for $350, they're competing directly with locals who earn the same amount for their entire monthly salary. Restaurants have started pricing their menus higher because they know foreigners will pay. Small family-owned eateries that used to charge 50 cents for a meal now charge $2. It's still cheap for Americans, but it's a 300% increase for Filipinos. Some locals call it economic colonialism. Foreigners with pension income and savings driving up costs and pushing locals out. Is this migration wave helping or hurting? The answer isn't simple. It brings money into the local economy, creates jobs, and funds infrastructure improvements. But it also displaces people and changes the character of the city. The tension is real, and it's growing. City number 2 faces the same problem, but on a much larger scale. City number 4, Subic Bay. City number 4 has American-style infrastructure, English road signs, golf courses, and yacht clubs. That's because it is America. Subic Bay was a massive U.S. naval base until 1992. Now it's a free port zone with zero income tax for businesses, reduced taxes for residents, and a completely different vibe from the rest of the Philippines. This isn't for broke retirees scraping by on Social Security. This is for Americans with money who want Western standards without Western prices. James and Patricia Kowalski, ages 70 and 68, moved here from Florida 3 years ago. They sold their home in Tampa for $450,000. They bought a waterfront condo in Subic for $180,000 and pocketed the difference. That $270,000 is now their emergency fund and travel money. Their condo has 2 bedrooms, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bay, a pool, a gym, and 24-hour security. Their monthly homeowner association fees? $120. Their lifestyle here includes shopping at the duty-free zone, where they buy imported American products at tax-free prices. They eat at American chain restaurants when they're homesick, Sparrow, Shakey's Pizza, even a Texas Roadhouse. They play golf twice a week at courses designed by professional golfers. They go sailing, diving, and island hopping. They have access to private hospitals staffed with U.S.-trained doctors who did their residencies at Johns Hopkins, Mayo Clinic, and UCLA Medical Center. The American expat population in Subic is about 4,200. The average age is 58. Average retirement income is $3,500 a month. They're comfortable but not wealthy by U.S. standards. But here's where it gets weird, and where I started feeling uncomfortable during my research. Some Americans never leave the Subic Bay Freeport zone. They live their entire lives inside this bubble. American food. American friends. American TV. American everything. They might as well be in San Diego, except everything costs 60% less. I interviewed a man named Gary. He's been in Subic for 8 years. I asked him if he spoke any Tagalog. He said no. I asked if he had any Filipino friends. He paused and said, "Well, I'm friendly with the security guard in my building." 8 years. No language. No local friends. No cultural integration. Is this retirement or colonialism with a different name? Research from the Asian Journal of Social Science, published in 2024, shows that 62% of expats living in ex-military zones interact with locals less than once a week. They exist parallel to Filipino society, not within it. It's comfortable. It's safe. It's familiar. But is it right? I'm not here to judge. People have different priorities. Some want adventure and cultural immersion. Others just want affordable comfort and familiar surroundings. But it raises questions about what it means to live in another country versus just existing there while spending less money. Nothing, and I mean nothing, compares to the explosion happening in our top 3 cities. City number 3, Davao. City number 3 is the safest major city in the Philippines, and Americans are fleeing here like it's a lifeboat. Davao has lower crime rates than most US cities. You can walk at midnight without looking over your shoulder. Women jog alone at 5 a.m. You can leave your phone on a cafe table to save your seat while you use the bathroom. Michael Torres, 55, took early retirement from Chicago in 2023. 2 years earlier, he survived a carjacking at gunpoint. He was stopped at a red light. 2 men smashed his window, dragged him out of his car, and put a gun to his head. He survived, but he developed severe PTSD. Couldn't sleep. Jumped at every sound. Started carrying a gun everywhere, even to the grocery store. His wife begged him to get help. He tried therapy, medication, nothing worked. He was living in constant survival mode. 3 months after moving to Davao, his nightmares stopped. He still remembers the night. He woke up naturally, no panic, no racing heart. Just thought. He told me, "I didn't realize how much fear I was carrying. In Chicago, I was always scanning for threats. Every car, every person, every shadow. Here I finally exhaled. For the first time in 2 years, I felt safe." Over 12,000 Americans now live in Davao. The population is growing by 18% every year. The city has world-class medical facilities. Davao Doctors Hospital, Davao Medical School Foundation Hospital, and Southern Philippines Medical Center all have modern equipment and internationally trained staff. There are international schools for expat families. Direct flights to Singapore, Hong Kong, Tokyo, and Seoul. A thriving food scene with everything from street barbecue to upscale restaurants. The 2024 Mercer Quality of Living Survey ranked Davao in the top 15 cities in Asia for expat livability, ahead of Bangkok, Hanoi, and Jakarta. But Davao's former mayor, who later became president of the Philippines, is globally controversial. His approach to crime was brutal. Extrajudicial killings. Vigilante justice. Human rights organizations condemned him. But crime dropped dramatically. Some Americans struggle with that ethical contradiction. Can you enjoy safety while ignoring how it was achieved? Can you separate quality of life from political ideology? Michael doesn't care. He told me, "I'm not here to fix the Philippines. I'm here because I couldn't survive in America anymore. I was dying slowly from stress and fear. Here, I'm alive." Thousands are making that same choice right now. And there's another issue. Visa regulations just tightened in 2025. The Special Resident Retirees Visa now requires $50,000 deposited in a Philippine bank. That's a massive barrier for many Americans who are asset-rich but cash-poor. They have equity in a home, retirement accounts they can't touch without penalties, but not $50,000 in liquid cash. Some are getting creative, taking out home equity loans, borrowing from family. One couple I spoke to took an early withdrawal penalty on their 401k just to get the deposit. But cities 2 and 1? They're where the real migration explosion is happening. City number 2, Cebu. City number 2 is the Queen City of the South, and it's becoming Little America. Over 35,000 Americans live in Cebu. That's more than the population of entire U.S. towns like Bozeman, Montana, or Burlington, Vermont. This isn't sleepy retirement. This is city life. Skyscrapers. Traffic jams. Shopping malls the size of airport terminals. Nightlife that goes until 4 a.m. Tech startups raising venture capital. Call centers employing thousands. Derek and Amanda Cho, ages 42 and 40, moved here from Seattle in 2024. They're not retirees. They're remote workers with 2 kids, ages 8 and 11. In Seattle, they paid $3,200 a month for a cramped 2-bedroom apartment in a decent school district. Parking was extra. Utilities were extra. Their kids' after-school programs cost $800 a month combined. Summer camp was $1,500 per kid for 1 week. They were making 6 figures combined and still living paycheck to paycheck. In Cebu, they pay $800 a month for a 3-bedroom condo in a modern high-rise with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the ocean. The building has a pool, a gym, a playground, and 24-hour security. Parking is included. Their kids attend the Cebu International School for $400 a month per child. That's $800 total versus $2,000 each in Seattle. The school has small class sizes, international curriculum, native English-speaking teachers, art programs, music programs, and sports teams. Here's the shocker that nobody's talking about. The average American in Cebu is now 38 years old, not 68. According to Philippine Bureau of Immigration data from 2024, 47% of new American residents are under 50. This isn't a retirement wave anymore. It's a full-blown economic migration of working-age professionals. But remote work destroyed geographic constraints. If you can work from anywhere, why pay $4,000 a month for a tiny apartment when you can pay $800 for a luxury condo? Crushing U.S. housing costs made it impossible for millennials and Gen X to build wealth. They watched their parents' generation buy homes for $100,000 that are now worth $500,000. But by the time they were ready to buy, those same homes cost $700,000 and required $140,000 down payments. The system broke. So they left. Cebu has 6 JCI-accredited hospitals. That's the Joint Commission International, the gold standard for international healthcare accreditation. Heart surgery in Cebu costs $15,000. In the US? $180,000. Amanda needed an emergency cesarean section when their second child was born. She went into preterm labor at 35 weeks. The baby's heart rate was dropping. They rushed her to Cebu Doctors University Hospital. Within 30 minutes, she was in surgery. The team was calm, professional, and spoke perfect English. They delivered a healthy baby girl. Amanda stayed 4 days in a private room that looked like a hotel. Flat-screen TV, private bathroom, a couch that converted into a bed so Derek could stay with her. The nursing staff checked on her every hour. The food was actually good. Total bill? $1,200. Her U.S. insurance company had quoted $28,000 for the same procedure in Seattle. A 2024 study in Health Affairs found that medical tourism from the U.S. to Asia grew 340% since 2020. But people aren't just visiting for procedures anymore. They're moving permanently because they realize healthcare should never cost more than their mortgage. Derek and Amanda aren't going back. They're saving $40,000 a year living in Cebu. They're investing it, building wealth for the first time in their lives. But Cebu is getting crowded. Pollution is rising. Traffic is approaching Manila levels. The beaches that were pristine 5 years ago are now covered in plastic. Infrastructure is struggling to keep up with the population boom. Some expats are already leaving for quieter cities. Others are doubling down, saying Cebu is still better than Seattle, even with its problems. Which brings us to the most controversial American hotspot in the Philippines. City number 1, Metro Manila. City number 1 will shock you because it's the opposite of a tropical paradise. It's chaotic, polluted, overcrowded, traffic that makes LA look functional, air quality that'll make you cough, noise 24/7. And yet, over 50,000 Americans live here. So why are they flooding into a city that every travel blog tells you to avoid? Because Manila isn't where you go to relax on a beach. It's where you go to build something. Jessica Park, 33, moved here from Los Angeles in 2023. She runs an e-commerce business selling sustainable home products. Her overhead was killing her. Hiring one full-time employee cost $50,000 a year after salary, payroll taxes, health insurance, and compliance costs. She couldn't afford to scale. She was doing everything herself, working 70-hour weeks, burning out. In Manila, she hired 15 Filipino employees. Customer service reps, graphic designers, social media managers, accountants, warehouse staff. All of them are college educated. All of them speak fluent English. All of them show up on time, work hard, and take pride in their work. Her total payroll? $72,000 a year. That's what 3 employees would have cost her in a office space in Makati, Manila's financial district, costs $8 per square foot. In LA, she was paying $65 per square foot for a cramped office with no windows. Now she has a modern office on the 15th floor with a view of the skyline. These aren't retirees sipping coconuts. These are entrepreneurs, digital nomads, startup founders, and remote professionals building businesses that would be impossible in the US. American-owned businesses in Manila are up 220% since 2020, according to data from the Philippine Department of Trade and Industry. But here's the paradox. Manila has some of the worst traffic in the world. A 5-mile commute can take 2 hours. The air quality is terrible. The noise never stops. It's overwhelming, exhausting, and chaotic. So why do they stay? Because opportunity outweighs comfort for this generation. Traditional retirees choose beaches and quiet. New generation expats choose economics and growth. Even in the chaos, Manila has world-class hospitals. St. Luke's Medical Center in Bonifacio Global City has a medical tourism program that rivals anything in Singapore or South Korea. Robert Young, 47, developed kidney stones. Excruciating pain. He went to the emergency room at St. Luke's at 2 a.m. on a Saturday. He was seen immediately. No insurance verification. No waiting room purgatory. They did a CT scan within 30 minutes. The doctor explained his options. The stone was 8 millimeters, too large to pass naturally. He needed lithotripsy, a procedure where they use shock waves to break up the stone. In the US, his doctor told him it would be a 6-week wait to see a urologist, then another 2 weeks to schedule the procedure. In Manila, they scheduled him for 9 a.m. Monday morning. 2 days. The procedure took 45 minutes. He went home the same day. Total cost, including the ER visit, CT scan, procedure, anesthesia, and follow-up appointment? $2,800. In the US, his insurance company quoted $45,000. His out-of-pocket after deductible and co-insurance would have been $12,000. Unlike other cities on this list, Manila expats have to integrate. You can't live in a bubble here. You learn Tagalog phrases. You figure out how to navigate jeepneys and grab rides. You eat local food at carinderias. You negotiate at markets. You adapt or you leave. Research published in the Journal of Ethnic and Migration Studies in 2024 found that expats living in high-integration environments reported 51% higher life satisfaction than those in isolated expat communities. But not everyone makes it. About 30% of Americans return to the US within 2 years. Culture shock breaks them. The noise, the chaos, the homesickness. They miss Target. They miss Thanksgiving with family. They miss understanding every conversation happening around them. This isn't a fairy tale. It's a trade-off. Lower cost, higher stress. More opportunity, less comfort. Better healthcare, worse pollution. Financial freedom, cultural isolation. So why is this migration wave really happening? Let's break down the numbers that nobody wants to talk about. US median rent, $2,000 a month. Philippines, $400. US healthcare costs, $13,000 per year per person. Philippines, $1,200. Retirement savings needed in the US, $1.8 million. In the Philippines, $250,000 gets you 30 comfortable years. But there's a darker force driving this. The American dream is pricing out Americans. A 2024 PwC study found that 73% of US workers live paycheck to paycheck. Even people with good jobs, college degrees, and full-time employment can't afford to build a life. Housing costs have increased 340% since 1980. Wages have increased 40%. Healthcare costs have increased 500% since 1990. The median household income has increased 90%. The math doesn't work anymore. College costs $200,000. You graduate with debt. You can't afford a house until you're 40. You can't afford kids. You can't afford to retire. Some people fight the system. They work 3 jobs. They side hustle. They sacrifice everything. Others leave. Is this migration wave a crisis or a solution? For Americans, it's survival. A way out of crushing debt, medical bankruptcy, and housing insecurity. For Filipinos, it's complicated. Rising costs, cultural tension, displacement, but also economic growth, jobs, remittances, and international connections. By 2030, experts predict 500,000 Americans will be living in the Philippines. That's bigger than the population of Atlanta, Miami, or Sacramento. This isn't a trend. This is a fundamental shift in how Americans think about life, work, and retirement. So here's my question for you, and I really want to know. Would you leave everything familiar behind? Your home, your family, your culture, your country, to actually afford retirement? To not panic about medical bills? To build a life instead of just surviving? Or is struggling in America, living paycheck to paycheck, drowning in debt? Is that still better than comfort in a foreign country where you'll always be an outsider? Drop a comment right now. Stay or go. And tell me why. And if you know someone drowning in medical bills or retirement panic, send them this video. It might change their life. Because the biggest risk isn't moving to the Philippines. It's pretending everything's fine when it's not.